What I couldn't get over yesterday, though, is I was watching some of the, like on MSNBC, they led with this story. Is it because it was a plane? Is that what made it such a big deal? What if he had walked into the building with a gun? Would that have been...
Yeah, that would have made a big deal, sure.
As big a deal? Okay, the entire focus when I was watching MSNBC yesterday was about the plane flying in the building, and everybody kept saying over and over and over, every time I checked in for hours... It's eerie how reminiscent this is of 9/11.
Oh, God.
We all remember what it felt like that day when we saw the planes crash into the building, and we're feeling some of that now. I just heard that. I heard that 1,000 times yesterday.
I'm glad I was sledding with my kids.
Are we simpletons to that level?
Yes.
Are we really that simple-minded?
Do you have any further questions? Yes. Yes.
That a plane going into a building, then somehow... It's not related at all. At all.
God, you're right. My head would have twisted.
Any more than if he had gone in and shot somebody. And people said, it's eerie. It reminds you of April 1865 when Lincoln was shot. And I mean, come on.
Reminds one of the St. Valentine's Day massacre in Chicago.
The 9/11 talk all day yesterday about it.
Shut up.
That's just... Wow, how childish is that?
Very.
Any comment on the coverage or the story or the manifesto or any of it, 1-866-331-TALK. We want to talk to you, 1-866-331-TALK, here on the Armstrong and Getty Show. Those of you all on the line, we'll talk to you here in a couple of minutes. Those of you wanting to call, do so, 1-866-331-TALK. We're talking about the guy who hates the IRS and the plane crash and the coverage of it, that whole thing. 1-866-331-TALK. Your call's right after the news, which is now, 7 o'clock, Armstrong and Getty. I need to be careful when talking about the guy who crashed the plane into the IRS building, so it is not misconstrued by some as approval for murdering that guy who just went to work yesterday at the IRS building.
Right.
Will it be considered murder?
Yeah. Yeah. They're one of the many brands of murder.
But the famous Thomas Jefferson quote, "The tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants." We don't do that much anymore in America. Haven't done it for a very, very long time.
No, we're pretty sheepy.
Longer version of that quote, he talks about how I hope a period of 20 years never goes by where we don't have such a rebellion. And it was after a rebellion had occurred in the early United States.
Perhaps the Whiskey Rebellion, which I would have been glad to have attended.
It might have been. Well, with people taking up guns and fighting the man over various issues.
Saying you've gone too far.
And our founding fathers, at least TJ, believed that was a good thing. Needed to happen from time to time to kind of have a little give and take.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have any of that anymore. And anybody who does any of that sort of, or even suggests that sort of thing, is seen as a right-wing maniac.
Yeah. Or a left-wing maniac.
Or a left-wing maniac.
Because we have some of those as well.
Depending on your issue, yeah.
Yeah. There are much better ways to get things done. And this guy,
like you said earlier, nothing gets as much attention. This is going to get more attention than he could. There's nothing this guy could have done that would have got more attention for this particular quote about taxes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's effective.
Doesn't justify it. I'm not advocating it.
No, certainly, but that doesn't mean you can't stand there and say, or sit here where I'm sitting and say, people are going to talk about this once they get over the fire and what motivated the man. Usually that pisses me off. Because usually it's, I'm an angry lunatic, and I wanted to take as many people with me as I could. And this guy was definitely a little kinked, having read his manifesto.
Absolutely.
He's got a victim complex. But some of the points he makes about the tax code and the government are absolutely valid. I just wish he hadn't killed that old fellow.
So... any comments on the whole deal or any of the manifesto or the coverage of it yesterday as the cable news channels just went crazy with the whole 9/11 comparison. It made me sad. Are we that stupid? Are we just that stupid? Look, a plane flew into a building just like on 9/11.
It can't help but remind us so deeply of those. Shut up.
What's
the best you got? You realize real people don't talk like that, ever?
And this whole Thomas Jefferson thing, do you think he was wrong Do you think that is an anachronism? Or do you think the Tree of Liberty does need to be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants?
It's an interesting question. An inflammatory question. 1-866-331-TALK. 1-866-331-8255. Joseph's on the line, and by the way, you can call anytime. We'll get you on. Joseph, go ahead.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good.
Just let you know, you guys keep me awake. I work all night and normally spend my time listening to you guys driving home.
What sort of living do you make there, Joe? What do you do?
I work in law enforcement.
Okay. All right, good deal.
I'm out there working on the graves, and I tell you what, when it gets a pretty long, boring night, you guys, it's hard for me to go to bed after listening to you guys on the way home.
Well, we're sorry. So what do you think of this whole deal?
Yeah, I think it's kind of ridiculous. This is kind of just a rhetorical question. Maybe we can all dissect together. I don't understand how, you guys were saying, we're all quick to point out the fact that this is, want to bring up 9/11, airplanes in the buildings. Completely different situation. What's kind of weird is, why can we be so quick, a couple minutes after the fact has happened, to point this out? But obviously, we have a guy that in Fort Hood, Texas, that wore his, burqa or his religious spiritual cleansing clothing before he went into this attack, and nobody wants to say anything, and is feared.
I see what you're saying. So this is like 9/11, but the Fort Hood thing wasn't like 9/11 at all. In fact, they went to great lengths to go in the other direction.
Absolutely.
Well, because they can comprehend that it's a plane in a building, but a Muslim killing the infidel Westerner. No, that's not like 9/11 because it wasn't a plane in a building.
And the term right-wing extremist was thrown around a lot yesterday on the cable news channels. So,
oh, nice.
That fit that whole deal.
Isn't the only politician he names in his rambling manifesto George Bush? He's pissed off at him?
I think so.
Or some of his writings. All right,
the
Joseph,
86
interesting.
tax code.
Good point.
The 86 tax code, which passed under Reagan. Now, I attempted to look up the whole Thomas Jefferson quote. Always dangerous when you're looking up Founding Fathers quotes on the Internet.
On the Internet, yeah.
I remember it enough that I think this is more or less right from books that I have home, or actual books. But I think this is an interesting conversation. Do we agree with Thomas Jefferson or not? Do we believe that that's true?
TJ was a little wacky, but go ahead.
It's fairly long, but I'll read it. God forbid we should ever be 20 years without such a rebellion. The people cannot be all and always well informed. The part which is wrong will be discontented in proportion to the importance of the facts they misconceive. If they remain quiet under such misconceptions, it is lethargy, the forerunner of death to the public liberty. And what country can preserve its liberties if its rulers are not warned from time to time that this people preserve the spirit of resistance? Let them take arms. The remedy is to set them right as to the facts, pardon, and pacify them. What signify a few lives lost in a century or two? The tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants. It is the natural manure. So he clearly believed that the man needs to be warned from time to time.
Right.
That, hey, we sometimes get uppity and go to shooting you or killing you or resisting in some...
Right. I like the part about lethargy being, what was it?
I don't know. It's kind of my middle name, so... if they remain quiet under such misconceptions, it is lethargy, the forerunner of death to the public liberty.
I would say lethargy is the forerunner of death to the public liberty, which we have certainly experienced here in the United States. One of the least free countries day to day, minute to minute on earth.
Is the blood of patriots and tyrants the natural manure of our system, or is that old-timey talk and thought?
1-866-331-TALK. Your thoughts?